All right, I'm gonna try and make this as quick as possible. I really gotta take a shit, which is unusual for me at this point in the morning. But I'm going 112 on the freeway right now. Not really. If any law enforcement is watching, that is not true. I'm actually just getting on to the freeway, so it would not be safe. And I condone anyone that drives over the speed limit, for the record. But also for the record, because all of this is on the record. There's no off the record here. It may seem like it's off the record. We're just talking. But it's all on the record. And for the record, the Miami Heat are not title contenders. Yet. Just kind of a caveat. It might be, I might be hedging my bets a little bit. But here's the thing, like, I get the Kyle Lowry trade is a big deal, kind of. Like, I actually really don't see why. Because the trade, so you look at the trade itself, Kyle Lowry for Goran Dragic and Precious Achiuwa. And realistically, how much more production are you going to get out of Kyle Lowry than you did with Goran Dragic? Like, I get it's an improvement. I'm not saying they're the same guy. But, like, I feel like scoring was about the same. Maybe, Kyle Lowry might be a little bit better defensively, a little bit older, I just don't know if Kyle Lowry is as good as our idea of Kyle Lowry. Like, he is very good. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but I just feel like he's going to bring, maybe the important thing is more off the court, as a locker room guy, as a leader, and then on the court, someone that can take a little more pressure off Jimmy Butler to facilitate and bam. But I'm just gonna say that, like, I don't know if Kyle Lowry is really gonna make as big a difference as some people may think. Who I do think actually, like, underratedly, that's an adverb. I don't know if you can do that. But under the radar, Victor Oladipo re-signed with this team for, like, basically the vet min, if not the vet min. And that's a guy that was an all-star not that long ago and who's really, this isn't like a Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge situation where, like, they're in the, at the end of their careers and they're just trying to, like, chase rings. Like, Victor Oladipo is young enough where he can still be a very productive player and still, show flashes of an all-star caliber player. And if he can do that, then maybe I'll be ready to say that he are a contender, because, that shooting guard spot, especially defensively, I feel like has been a big issue for them. Because if everyone's healthy and you're starting, Lowry, Robinson, Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, Bam, like, that's a pretty wild lineup right there. Like, that is going to be hard to compete with. I mean, I think that is up there with the Bucks and the Nets from, like, across the board, because obviously no one can compete with the Nets' big three, and no one can guard Giannis. But, like, in a 7-game series, I could see that healthy lineup, taking those teams maybe to 6 or 7 games. And I think, I don't know, Tyler Hero's a bit of a question mark, right? Because he had a great bubble, and we're like, wow, Tyler Hero was a steal. This guy is going to be a 20-point scorer in the league for a long time. And this, past season put all of that into doubt. Like, we don't know who this guy is right now, who he could be, what his potential is. They just picked up a team option on him, which, pretty much a no-brainer. Whether he peaked already and they could have traded him for James Harden, maybe. But, either him or Oladipo, it has to probably return to who they were, previously in their careers, which for Heroes literally like 1 year ago or 1.5 years ago, whatever. So you have that. They extended Duncan Robinson, or re-signed him, to 5 years, $90 million. it's a lot for a guy that can only do one thing, more or less. Not even more or less, like literally Duncan Robinson can shoot 3-pointers. You know, he doesn't step in the paint, not a great defender, can't beat you off the dribble, and you're going to pay him whatever that is annually, like 15, 16, 17, whatever. I get it. I know shooting the 3-ball is one of the most important things in the NBA, and somehow they still had room to sign PJ Tucker and Markieff Morris, which, you know, PJ Tucker also kind of brings, you know, a toughness that I don't know if this team needed. He might be a little redundant, just in terms of, like, we get it, grit and grind or whatever. Like, I'm still worried that this team's not going to put up enough points, because you really don't have, you got the facilitators, like Bam can facilitate, Jimmy can facilitate, now Kyle Lowry can facilitate. The problem is no one, I don't know if I trust anyone on this team to, like, create their own shot. Like, I know Jimmy can hit some tough ones every now and then, but I don't consider him, you know, someone that 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter, you know, just give it to Jimmy and let him go to work. Like, he's not, that's not exactly his game. And I don't think it's anyone's real game on it. Like, Tyler Hero is probably the closest to someone that I feel like can create their own shot, but obviously he doesn't. You can create them, but whether he'll make them, you know, is a whole nother story. So, a lot of moving pieces in it. And I trust Eric Spoelstra. I think he's, you know, undoubtedly one of the top coaches in the league. And to give him this roster, you got to respect it. I mean, the Heat have, you know, when you lose LeBron and you lose that big three or whatever, and they rebounded really quickly when you think about it. And they have, as I've mentioned before, how important it is to have a culture, to have an identity. And I mean, to have the kind of consistency and congruity of Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra running this team, I think it really helps because you can identify, you know, it makes it easier to identify which players you need, you know, what gaps can be filled, things like that. And they've just done a really good job, and I respect the Heat a lot for that. Can't say I'm like their biggest fan. I do like Bam quite a bit. Not a huge fan of Kyle Lowry. I feel like he's just a problem, man. He's just irritating, and he's one of those guys you want on your team, but you don't want to play against or listen to ever. So we'll see. I mean, I feel like they're safely, you know, I feel like they'll probably avoid the play-in tournament, be top 6 in the East. You got it. I mean, just roster, I feel like, you know, on paper, they're the third best team in the East, behind the Bucks, Nets. I mean, who knows? Philly's a whole thing. I don't know. Who knows what the Ben Simmons package will be? I don't know. Jesus Christ, that person was just swerving around the corner. I'm just gonna get in a head-on collision while talking about Philly. That would be the luck. It's freaking cursed. Yeah, I don't know what the Ben Simmons package is going to look like, whether it will, I don't know, I would be shocked if it puts Philly in the Nets-Bucks conversation, but I think it probably will keep them, you know, probably about where the Heat are. They might be fighting for the 3rd seed. They got Atlanta. I think I've talked about Atlanta yet. I don't know, Atlanta could also be up there. They obviously should be coming in with a lot of confidence, bringing back John Collins. They were able to work that deal out. It seems like everyone's bought in to Nate McMillan. And Atlanta could, like, this is tough. And a lot of people have Chicago up there. I don't necessarily agree with that. But, you know, generally in the mix of, like, 1 through 6 bars. So that's how many teams have I listed? You go Bucks, Nets, Heat, Hawks, Bulls. I mean, that's 5. You imagine Celtics, maybe, depending on how that whole thing goes. It's like the East. I'm just gonna keep talking for a second. Hold on. The East is a mess. I feel like I've come to that conclusion about it. Every video is just like, man, the East could go a lot of different ways. And obviously injuries, always something to consider. And so Miami loses a guy, and they go from the 3 to the 7, and they're in a playing game. But I tell you what, if Miami's a 5 or 5 down, would not want to see this team in the playoffs. Very much, they're going to shrink games. They're going to play slow. They are going to beat the hell out of you just physically. Very much like, they're kind of like the Knicks, but more talented. Where your playoff game with them is probably going to be like 94-86. Something like that. Or probably throwing like an 84-77, like weird game where no one can make a shot. So we have that to look forward to at some point with this Miami Heat team. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all works. If they can get that starting 5, watch out, because this Miami team could be legit. As of right now, I say they are not. Too many questions with Oladipo. Duncan Robinson's too one-dimensional, and Tyler Hero has not shown, progress since since the bubble. So, feel free to disagree. There's only one way to find out, and that's come whenever the season starts and ends, and we get to look at where this Miami Heat team ended up. So that's the video for today. Take care of yourselves. Take it easy. And I'll see you next time.